And welcome in to the Friday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, intern Robert here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's off to a good start to their day. Joe Rexrode, good morning. Happy high school football day. What are we doing? How's life?
Thank you. Yep, big one at home against McGavick tonight for Nolensville High. Doing all right. A little tired and a little maybe regretful of picking the Ravens to win it all, but I don't want to overreact to one game.
No.
I don't like teams that get worse on their offensive line, among other things that they screwed up last night.
The line, I would say, a concern for Baltimore after week one. Now, granted, one thing is pretty clear. I got a big takeaway from last night, Joe.
Okay.
Kansas City is better than they were a year ago.
Great.
Which is fun. They're better than they were a year ago. Chris Jones still really good. Spagnuolo still pretty good. And it turns out that they did lose L'Jarius Sneed. Did not affect them much last night. And it turns out, as I've been talking about, and you've been talking about, and we've kind of highlighted all offseason, that adding one of the fastest human beings on the earth has helped the offense. And Xavier Worthy, an immediate impact on the offense last night with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Now, one of them, it's
great coverage.
Yeah, it's just a blown coverage. And the other one, blocked well. So if you want to, not give him any credit, you can. But yeah, that guy's a little bit fast.
Well, it was blocked well. Yeah. When the guy running got through the hole, it was 0.02 of a second. It was like, oh, like he looked like he was shot out of a cannon, and he's in the end zone. Cool.
Yeah, some of those guys were just starting to, to engage with their blocks, and he was way past them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that dude. He might score a few touchdowns with them.
It's not fair
this year. Keyser, how we doing? What's going on?
Morning. Glad that we got through another week. Looking forward to getting to have a nice weekend with the family. So yeah, everything's good.
There you go. There you go. We got a lot going. And when I say, I use the term loaded show sometimes. This one's really a loaded show. We got a loaded show coming up. Yeah. Charles Robinson from 6:30 to 7 today. We'll get into all things NFL week 1.
Wake up in Kansas City, Charles.
Charles,
wake up.
Hope you got some sleep last night. We'll see how that goes. Stilly coming up at 7 o'clock for his weekly visit. Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee will join us at 7:30. And, of course, TD at 8 o'clock. So we got a lot of football to discuss today on the program. Week 1 coming up for the Titans and the Bears. And, obviously, some big games in college football, including Tennessee and NC State that we'll get to today as well. Chiefs get the win last night, 27-20. So they start their season off with a bang. Just up in the win column already. Defense looked good last night. We'll get a little bit more into the Chiefs in that game with Charles coming up here in just a few minutes at 6:30. On the Titans front, we are now 2 days away from week 1 against the Chicago Bears. And, Joe, a big question I have, DeAndre Hopkins going to play? Is DeAndre Hopkins going to be available in this game? Now, he's been out there on the field this week, and, of course, he was asked about it yesterday in the locker room after practice and did not give any definitive answers. Said, yep, feeling great. We'll see how it looks on Sunday. So you've got that side of things. You got Taylor Lewan on Bussing with the Boys, basically just saying that Hopkins is not playing. So that part of it's interesting. What do you make of the old DeAndre Hopkins situation heading into week 1 against Chicago?
Well, it all adds up to me to I don't think he's going to play. So, I guess this is a little test of Taylor Lewan's news-breaking abilities.
I guess it is.
And he was just doing it during they're doing their game picks, right? Yeah. He's like, by the way, guys, Hopkins definitely not playing.
He also said, and Jamal Adams not going to play either.
Which that one's surprise.
Like, okay.
But the way Hopkins, so first of all, Kuharski, I want to make sure if we have the credit given out correctly. Is it Kuharski independently who is reporting the MCL?
I believe that is
I
correct.
want to make that sure. So, and some level of MCL tear, right?
Right.
And which I'm trying to remember what was initially when he went down. How was it communicated?
Well, definitely wasn't that. Did we say strain?
Strain or
I think strain was thrown out there. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. Okay. So, and the thing is, I mean, as people who really get into the medical weeds know, like a lot of times, like a sprain is like a slight tear, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, but regardless, probably a low grade or slight tear compared to some. You hear MCL tear and you think like that can be really long term.
Right.
But the way that Hopkins answered, and I'm trying to also give credit on the video, it might have been either Kuharski or maybe Easton Freeze who had a video of him. His answer when he was asked directly about playing Sunday to me was like, "That's a guy who's not playing Sunday." So that's my guess now. We'll get an availability report today.
Look, it's Taylor Lewan. It's not like Taylor Lewan has been some like groundbreaking reporter, newsbreaker type guy. But like, I don't also know if Taylor Lewan would just come out and say, yeah, he's not playing. By the way, he's not playing. I mean, if so, then that's an interesting approach. But I pay attention when Taylor Lewan says that. I'll put it that way.
How many times does Taylor Lewan do something like that where he actually?
I mean, not very often. I don't think.
I don't remember him being wrong.
Yeah,
but he obviously that's not what he does. But yeah, I would agree. Taylor Lewan, I mean, still has friends on the Titans, right?
Yeah.
Who's his best friend on the Titans? Who's his source? We could guess his source.
I don't know. I mean, there's not a ton of people.
There aren't that many
there.
people, actually. Like, I mean, like
Harold Landry?
Landry and Simmons are like the. And now Simmons goes on there.
Yeah,
maybe Simmons.
Maybe
Simmons is a guy. We'll see. This is a test of Taylor Lewan's news-breaking abilities, but I would tend to believe that. And just Hopkins has had a chance to directly say, "Yeah, I'm playing,"
right,
and has not. It's kind of doing the "we'll see" thing, and it's like, okay.
Well, but
4 to 6 weeks, by the way, was the timeline.
That was the timeline. And that's what I was going to say.
This is 4.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like it's still. I mean, the fact that he's on the field, I mean, still speaks well of the original timeline.
Yeah.
So it's not like it doesn't seem like anyway they've added some setback to it or anything like it. It seems like he's on what the original timeline was, and we always said like if it's closer to 4 weeks, he'll probably play against Chicago. And if it's closer to 6, he will not. And it kind of feels like that's what it is. And also, like, if it's a partial MCL tear, or if you start getting into that realm, like, wouldn't you want to make sure that it's as good as it can be before you just throw him back out there? Like, we all know this game Sunday is important. I said it earlier in the week. You look at their schedule, like if the Titans are going to make some noise this year, this is probably a game on Sunday they need to go grab. Like the schedule, the first part of the year with the Jets and the Packers, and the Dolphins and the Bills and the Lions, they got a lot of really tough games to begin the year. So this is a big game for them coming up on Sunday. That doesn't mean that you just throw caution to the wind. It's like, well, DeAndre, it's time to go. Week 1. I mean, you got to be smart with a guy like that.
Yeah. And by the way, since I do like to play a doctor on the radio, I went to clevelandclinic.com or .org. Sorry. So here's the breakdown for you. Grade 1, a mild MCL tear, 1 to 3 weeks. Grade 2, moderate MCL tear, 4 to 6 weeks. Grade 3 can be 6 weeks or more. So actually, the timeline matches. It's just basically that.
So
good job.
You just diagnosed right on the air. Look at you.
Well, but so really, this is the point is, like you just said, this hammers home your point, which is nothing has changed. It's just that Kuharski, and good job, Kuharski, getting that extra information that it is technically an MCL tear. I do think that some people saw that and were like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, well, he just got more information on the same injury that it's been all along. And I'm with you. You really would love to see the full arsenal in this game. It's a very important game when you look at their schedule for them to get this win and get off to a good start. They've got, it's tough, very tough early for them, but you certainly don't sacrifice any sort of long-term situation to play him, of course, and they won't. So I'm guessing he's out of there, and I'm going to guess that, I guess we'll now get some real answers on Traylon Burks versus NWI too.
Well, there's that part of it as well. Officially, Hopkins limited the last 2 days. So he has at least been doing something, but limited on the field the last 2 days. Jamal Adams has not practiced either day. So not looking great for him in week 1, which kind of goes right back in line with what we talked about the moment they signed him. Otis Reese also has been limited with the concussion protocol the last 2 days as well. And then on the Bears side of things, Allen limited 2 days with a heel. Montez Sweat limited with the toe. But nothing. I guess Mercedes Lewis is a non-injury related rest day. Did not practice yesterday at the age of 65 that Mercedes Lewis is.
Good for him. Good for him for getting out there.
Yeah.
A little prune juice. Take a walk. Speaking of Jeffrey Simmons, you bring up Jamal Adams. Can we revisit some of those tweets, Jeffrey? I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that.
Hey,
my name is Buck Rising.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks since we've had a media feud. We can get one going right before the season starts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently, I don't know. People over there carping at each other about seats,
It's true.
Kuharsky and
it's always
Team
Kuharsky.
Teresa. Hashtag
Always
Team Teresa.
Kuharsky. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. We're off and running today on the program. How big a deal is it for the Titans if DeAndre Hopkins can't go in week 1? We'll get more into that coming up next. Take your thoughts as well on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Hey, Robbie Stanley here. It's NFL week already underway, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has a special offer to kick us off. Now through September the 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. With a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Maybe you're living in Nashville. You're a big Seattle Seahawks fan. D-Mace picked them to win the division yesterday, so that should excite you. This plan should also excite you. Just visit FanDuel.com/Rob to download America's #1 sportsbook. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/Rob. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after a free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We'll give our thoughts on Derrick Henry's performance coming up here in just a few minutes. A lot of thoughts on that on text line right now.
Yes, a lot of talk, as you would think. I understand.
We will get into that here shortly, both with us and with Charles Robinson coming up at 6:30. Right now, throwing the question out there, if DeAndre Hopkins cannot go on Sunday, and Taylor Lewan seems to think he will not be going, how big a deal is that? How big of a deal is this in week one for the Titans if Hopkins can't go? So, Joe, I throw that question to you. If there's no Hopkins, but Ridley's ready, Boyd's ready, you have the Burks NWI combination at your disposal, how big a loss is that for the Titans in week one if Hopkins is not available?
Well, that's a loss for sure. Someone on the text line was asking about Burks pushing for playing time if he gets this opportunity. I mean, when Hopkins, based on what we saw last year, unless the accumulation of injuries, I don't know, slows him down more or whatever, Hopkins is going to start and play most of the snaps when he's back. But I guess the one thing you could look at is they have been practicing now for weeks without him, so it's not like he's just yanked from the lineup this week. I guess it's better that way. But it's you want the full complement, and we know that Levis and Hopkins have had a good chemistry. So now we have not really seen much of that with Burks and Levis. I mean, maybe some in practice, but we haven't seen it in games, right?
Yep.
So you got Boyd, you got, I think, Burks, although that's, again, I'm keeping an open mind on the snap count between Burks and NWI.
I am too.
I'm keeping a very open mind. I really don't know how that'll go. I would guess that Burks gets more.
I would assume
and I know
so.
that they've talked about how they play different positions, but again, like NWI is the movable chess piece. And if they have more trust in him, then they'll put him there.
Yeah, see, the playing different position stuff to me is a lot of coach speak in the preseason. And then when games actually matter, I think you see the actual answer of who coaches trust the most on the field. I'm not saying that it's not going to be Burks. Like I have no indication that Traylon Burks has done anything in training camp to make me believe that Brian Callahan wouldn't feel comfortable putting him on the field. So we'll end up seeing on Sunday if Hopkins can't go. It is, we are in week one, which I did not expect. Week one, right back into, all right, Traylon Burks. What's he going to do out there?
Mm-hmm.
Can he get 5 catches? Can he put up 75 yards? What are we doing? We're week one, right back into it.
Sure. But also, this is why, there is still the possibility of Traylon Burks doing good things and putting his talent on the field. This is why you want to keep him, because you expect that you're probably going to have some injuries, and immediately you do. So it's another maybe opportunity. It's an opportunity for him, but you'll see. Chef Rand on the YouTube chat points out he was resting preseason week 2, but again, that went into the whole thing with NWI and the different position. I think that did say something, though. I think that said something about
NWI being pissed, sitting here playing the whole into the third quarter, the Seahawks game, baby.
Trying to win preseason games.
Making plays left and right.
If you're trying to win preseason games, you play NWI in the preseason game.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we're going to see. If not, we know not to listen to Taylor Lewan anymore. But again, Hopkins' avoidance of just saying I'm playing. Yeah. That kind of in tandem with Lewan makes me think he's not going to be there. So I think we'll see Burks more than NWI.
That Burks ends up with more snaps than NWI. Whatever that number is, whether it's 40, 35, I don't know. But let's just say he ends up with more snaps. How much pressure is on him to make sure he's productive with those snaps? Like if you get to the end of it and he's got 2 catches for 11 yards, depending on how the game plays out, there could be a whole lot of different factors as to why that's the case. But the bottom line is, I could tell you, if he gets playing time and he's got 2 catches for 11 yards on 45 snaps, the reaction, some of it on Monday, win or lose for the Titans, is going to be, well, Traylon Burks was out there again and didn't do anything. I guarantee you that's what it'll be on Monday.
Sure. But win or lose does matter, right? Like if Boyd and Ridley and the backs have awesome games. Great. Okay, so that's why.
Yeah.
If the offense doesn't produce and they lose, it's like they really needed something and still didn't have it from him. So, yeah. But, I mean, if you're Burks, you'd rather have that, at least be able to go out there and see. And look, I mean, Levis didn't throw his way a lot last year. I didn't necessarily see that he was running open left and right either, but he looked pretty good in camp.
He did. And again, people roll their eyes when they hear that, but he did. So
he's good enough to make plays in the NFL. I'm sure of it.
And then now the question is, does any of that translate come game time? And we're going to start to find out
probably
as week 1 rolls ahead here. On the Derrick Henry front, what did you make of Derrick Henry and the Ravens offense last night in the season debut against Kansas City?
Yeah, well, I thought, there were a few plays there, and it's kind of like last year, where it's like, man, one guy or one step, and he breaks one, but he didn't. He didn't break free. I mean, he had some good runs. He had the touchdown. It's the usage was probably around what's the final numbers on him, about 13, 14 carries.
13 carries for 46 yards. So that over under of 15.5 was pretty close.
Yes.
13 carries.
Yeah. And obviously remember, they were down in the second half. They were down 2 scores at times. And so that's just not that. I mean, go back to when Derrick Henry was at the absolute peak of his powers. The Titans are behind in a 2-minute drill. He's sitting on the sideline.
Yep.
I mean, that's just, so they've got that thing going with Henry and Hill. I still think that there's a lot more meat on the bone. I think it'll be good. I will say that between, the way that looked, the way that offensive line, which has gotten worse, looked, and like Lamar, you can't miss he missed 2 throws, but especially the second throw, right, to Zay Flowers. It's like, man, that's a DJ Uiagalelei, like wide open dude in the corner miss. Yeah. Then he made a great play after that, and it was a great game, and unfortunately he's an inch on the out of bounds thing. But the overall thing, I'm less optimistic about the Ravens. I'm going to overreact to one game. They have to be good and ahead, and I think they still will be in a lot of games. And then I think Derrick Henry works better. But the Lamar Derrick Henry thing, I still think you saw a little bit of that, what it can do.
Well, that first read option they ran a read option, and the entire Chiefs defense collapsed on Henry coming up the middle, and Lamar pulled it and he picked up like 20 on that play. And I was like, well, there it is. Like that's what's going to make them pretty dangerous to figure out. I do, as much as Chris Collinsworth kind of rubs all over me at times. It is interesting. Like he brought up this point maybe 1,000 times last night. Derrick Henry has traditionally in the NFL been in an offense where he does run a lot of outside zone, and he loves doing that. He's been very productive doing that. And Lamar has spent a whole lot of time in the shotgun. And you can run the outside zone from the shotgun. It is more difficult to do that. So, I think it may take them a while to really figure out the best play calls of meshing those two skill sets. That might take a while.
Yeah. And to last night, to me, it was fairly predictable, right? In terms of, now they did the run fakes to Derrick Henry into different things, not just passes. They had a little reverse. They had some different things. Those were fine, but it's fairly predictable when he hasn't. And that's the thing that's one of the knocks on Derrick Henry. I know some people on text are saying like the Ravens don't get it. You can't just give them the ball that many times. But look, they're not gonna. Their entire offense is not going to go Derrick Henry 25 carries.
He's not doing that.
And that was never going to be the case. He just needs to be a better weapon for them, basically, than Gus Edwards, which he is. But other than Isaiah Likely, because even Mark Andrews last night looked like, my goodness, it's week 1, man. Are you okay?
And I think Zay Flowers, I'm not going to get personal with it. He's not very smart on the football field sometimes. There was the AFC Championship game last year where he's just a moron. He had one play last night where he had the ball, picked up the first down, jumped back about 5 yards, and got tackled. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
That was interesting. Yeah.
I'm just glad that we made it past the first drive. I thought we were in big trouble in the first drive. When they called the illegal formation penalty for the fourth time, I was like, is this what we're going to do all night? Like, are we going to sit there and just call illegal formation penalties because the offensive linemen aren't exactly lined up all the time?
They broke a couple of them. They're showing it. They're telestrating it. And I'm like, Okay.
Is that what this weekend's going to be?
This is a huge thing for the NFL now. I guess. Hey, at least it's like something that I guess helps defenses, which you never see.
Yeah.
So I guess give them credit for that. But it's like, really, this is what we want to do?
When they called it for the 4th time on the first drive, I was like, so this is what opening weekend is going to be. Huh? This will be good.
The funny thing is, if you remember last year, and I think they finally called it, but if you remember last year, the Lions-Chiefs game, was it Juwan Taylor or who?
It was, no.
Neither. It was a Chiefs tackle who was
the
lining
right
up
tackle.
in the backfield.
It was like almost, you could almost send him in motion. He was in the back.
And then he was also false starting like by a half second.
Every play.
So, but now it's like, oh, here, let me get my little yardstick and make sure that.
Make sure you guys are exactly even. I hope we move past that this weekend. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will join us coming up next. We'll get into all things Week 1 in the National Football League with him. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, intern Robert here with you on this Friday morning. We go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our dear friend Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Charles, good morning. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want to kill me and Rexrode right now for having you on at 6:30 in the morning the day after the NFL opener?
I mean, it's my fault, right? This is what happens when you schedule a flight on top of the show out to Kansas City. So it's my bad. I'm happy to be, I guess, into the NFL season finally. So this is nice. It was good to see two teams play for real last night, and yeah, I'm ready to roll. I'm good.
So the Chiefs look like the Chiefs, and now they've got, one of the fastest human beings on the earth, and Xavier Worthy with them on the offense. So that should be fun for the rest of the NFL. What did you make of the Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Ravens offense part of this last night in the NFL season opener?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I go through Baltimore's camp, in August and talk to people there, and it was, hey, we want to have a more balanced offense. This is what's really important to us. The offensive line, we'll get that all straightened out, but we're not worried about what seems to be kind of a thin wide receiving core. Derrick Henry's going to eat up so much of this offense, yada, yada, yada. And then you get in last night, and what I thought was interesting is it just reminded me of a Ravens offense from a few years ago where it put a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson to just eat up a ton of the playmaking and create so much of the offense that I'm watching him. I'm going, this is the Superman offense for Lamar Jackson. Like, it's great that he's rising to meet the occasion, but it's not a sustainable model, particularly after he spent the offseason thinning out, getting his weight to where he thought he was faster and quicker. You can use that, but if last night was an example of where the Ravens are going, you're going to see a ton of the offense flowing through Jackson. And at some point you're like, is he going to get hurt? Or when do they run into a situation where he has to play Superman and everything has to fall perfectly for them in a vital game, which is really what happened last night. The last three throws by him, it was sort of like, okay, he misses an open Isaiah Likely. That should have been a touchdown. He misses. He throws a ball in between Rashad Bateman and it looks like he underthrew Zay Flowers. But realistically, I think he basically said he saw two players, thought that Bateman was going to sit down on a streaking route in the back of the end zone, and it ended up just looking like he threw behind Flowers. Either way, there was a wide open Zay Flowers who gets missed, and then he hits Isaiah Likely at the end for the touchdown, and Likely's toe is touching the boundary line, and there you go. That's the game. And so if you're a glass half full person and you're watching Baltimore, you're saying, well, look, they went on the road. The offensive line still got stuff they're working out. Derrick Henry got taken out of the offense after the first half because they fell into a hole, which is another thing. You're like, okay, functionally, this is how they'll work with Derrick Henry. They can't keep force feeding him the ball if they've got to, climb out of a 10-point hole. And then you take the whole balance of the offense, shift it away from Derrick Henry, and that balance, you put it in the hands of Lamar Jackson. It just looked a lot like past iterations of Baltimore's offense that we've seen. And I don't think that's ultimately what they want to do. Maybe it's just one game. Remember, one game in, so it's a one-game exception. You're on the road in Arrowhead. You do what you got to do to win. But I think also when you looked at that game, what alarms you is you flip it to the other side and you look at Kansas City's offense. You go, geez, here's a team that gave up Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce starting to get some age on him, no doubt about that. And what did you see? You saw an offense that's rotating now into younger players. Rashee Rice, huge impact in that game. Xavier Worthy, big impact in really limited touches, but you could see how he was affecting the defense when he was out there. Isaiah Pacheco, you just see a Kansas City that's reloaded into younger players, and you see Baltimore doing things that you're familiar with that didn't ultimately work in the past. And what did you get? The same result. I think Lamar and the Ravens are, 1-5 now against Mahomes and the Chiefs. And it's just interesting when you kind of see where two franchises are headed. And again, it's one game. This could mean nothing. We could have a completely different conversation 2 months from now, but I just don't think that Lamar being Superman for the Ravens is going to be a sustainable offense for them.
And it's weird too, because obviously last year so much was made of Monken and his changes and how they had right. I'm with you. It kind of looked like they threw back the clock last night. They're going to figure that out. And Pacheco, you mentioned him. I mean, I feel like he's gotten to the point. He's a really good player. No one ever talks about that guy, but I mean, he gives them that guy in the hammer in the fourth quarter too, right? I mean.
Yeah, he just runs so hard when you watch him, and that's the big thing on him. Everybody just talks about how hard he runs when he has the ball in his hands, but between the two running backs, Derrick Henry and Pacheco, who was the one you looked at and were like, wow, this guy's got juice? It was Pacheco, 100%. And I don't want to say that Henry looked – I think there's an element of what Derrick Henry is that is not how the Baltimore Ravens can use him, which is feed him a lot, and then you get into the second half and you are building into his strength, which is where, wearing down a defense and eventually causing the defense to break. They if that's how he functionally has to play, Baltimore they just can't lean into that. Whereas I think, you see Pacheco's hard running style and how he kind of fits with Kansas. There's a lot more offensive balance for Kansas City. And, even the way that they used Worthy and Pacheco on the play where Worthy ends up wide open down the right sideline, it's because Andy Reid sent Pacheco in motion toward Worthy's side. And all of a sudden you had, I think it was Marlon Humphrey was sitting there and no, the defensive rotation wasn't completed. Somebody didn't move, or I don't know if it was a safety. I don't know if I'd have to look at the film to see if it was a linebacker, but someone didn't complete the defensive rotation. And Humphrey's sitting there going, what do I do? I got Pacheco now in the flat. He's rolling over. Somebody's got responsibility here. It's just me. And so, he passed off Worthy to a safety who wasn't there. And that was it. Worthy. And it took Mahomes half a second to realize I got Xavier Worthy wide open for a touchdown. And, the presence of Pacheco was just huge on that play. So it's like you said. I mean, it's just you have a guy in the fourth quarter who looked like he was running hard, taking chunks of the offense and fitting perfectly in what a team does offensively, and that was Pacheco and not Derrick Henry.
We're going to spend all weekend with these stupid illegal formation penalties, Charles. Is the NFL going to make us sit through this crap all weekend?
And the funny thing was, like, you watch them call it. I think it was like literally the first series of Baltimore, and it's the first series of the game. It's an emphasis on how the offensive linemen are lining up. So if you have, and the way Baltimore was doing it, it looked like you had basically the center, and then you had it looked like you had the tackles who were lining up off the heels of the center. And sitting there, we're in the press box, we're like, man, there is a lot of depth by the tackles here, and they get flagged for it. And then, but then it didn't go throughout the game, because there were other times that they lined up the same way, and we were like, why are they not throwing the flag now? Like, why is the point of emphasis? And they're like, hey, we're going to call this. And then they didn't call it. And afterward, John Harbaugh was kind of like, we knew this was going to be a thing, and we were alerted to it. But he kind of said he's going to be interested to see if they can call it over the expanse of the entire season, because if you're going to flag a team a couple of times for it, you got to flag everybody for it all the time and just call it, how it is. And I think you're going to see, my guess is you're going to see something like last night, where you will see other games this weekend where there will be flags that will be called early, and then maybe not continually called throughout the game. I don't know what that means.
One in the fourth quarter, though, when it's really a key moment. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, so what is the league office saying? Like, you send out a memo to teams after, going, hey, you were flagged a couple of times for this. At some point, we're gonna expect a flag to be thrown every single time. And maybe when we were watching it last night, we're like, are they not doing this because it would just be god awful and like completely kill the game we're watching? Because they could have called it far more than they did. And so we're like, is it just sort of a poke in the eye, and by next, week 2, you better make sure you have this cleaned up, because at some point we're going to, start calling this every single play, if it's even there, every single play. Yeah, it was, was so weird. We were just like, what is this going to be? This is going to be the new, whatever, rule interpretation that people lose their minds. And like you said, in the fourth quarter, it's going to get called differently than it is in the first quarter.
So, Charles, the Packers and the Eagles playing tonight in Brazil. And, I've told you this. I'm a Packers fan. I watch a lot of their press conferences.
No,
and I will tell you,
really,
I'm now a body language expert too on Matt LaFleur. And every time this game comes up, I mean, nobody will ever say it on the Packers, but you can tell they want no part of going down there. I mean, they want no part of going down there. It is what it is. These international games aren't going anywhere with the league. Do you get a sense that players don't like playing in these games, particularly to begin the season? Like, how do you think this is going to go week one, an international game, hopping on a 10-hour flight going down to Brazil?
Yeah. Who was it? I'm trying to think now. Who made the comment? I feel like it was an Eagles player. I'm like, this is what happens when you get me at 6:30 in the morning and I'm fighting off of being sick. So one Eagles player said something about wearing the color green, right? I can't remember who it was now. And it turned out to be total BS, where it was like, hey, they're telling us that we're wearing the color green in Brazil could be a problem or whatever. And, now there's this increased security over fears that, that could potentially be a game that's targeted or whatever. And it's a lot. It's a lot of extra stuff for an international game. There's no doubt about that. And it's because it is Brazil. And because there's an element of crime in Brazil that, the NFL has to worry about, teams have to worry about, particularly when it comes to we're going down there, don't go out, you're not going to be out and about. We're going to the hotel, we're staying in the hotel. That's just how it's going to be. Hotel to the game, and then when the game's over to the airport, we're leaving. So it's a much more business pants trip, that's for sure. And it has nothing to do with, the game itself. It's more just we're in a city where, there's extra security concerns. And the reason why the NFL is going there, by the way, and people should understand this about all the international games, the NFL's international schedule is not to spread the game as much as it is to spread TV contracts. Like the greatest success of the NFL in Europe has been, and in the UK, has been the ability to leverage that into a foothold with TV contracts overseas. They want to do the same thing in South America. I guarantee you, if you talk to Jerry Jones and you were like, what's the pipe dream that you want to see happen before you pass on, from the ownership ranks, he would tell you China. He'd be like, I would love to see us open up a television market in China. The NFL, if there's one thing the NFL will always be jealous of the NBA about, it's the NBA's foothold in China and how that has significantly impacted, the revenues and popularity of the NBA game. And they've never been able to, obviously it's just not something that translated over to China, but they've gone everywhere else. And so I think a big part of Brazil is just knowing this is just such a massive, center hub of attention. And if we can pull this off well, which I think they will in terms of the attractiveness of the game, we could potentially continue to leverage this into overseas contracts, not overseas, I guess, in this particular case.
So Charles, now you look for, so what, your next deal, what, you're going to go hang out with Brady now? Is that right? You're going to go sit in with
No, I'm not hanging out with Brady. I mean, I'm going to listen to his broadcast and be like, I like this.
Oh, okay.
I don't like this.
You're not in the booth?
You're not going to that game?
Yeah, no. Why would I? I'm not going to go to a game to listen to some guy, to write something off some guy's
I thought the Michigan guys, let the Michigan State guys sit in the booth with them. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Come on in. We'll have you come in. There's only minor interest in my first game as a broadcaster. Sure.
Just have a big press conference in there during commercials, asking about the last call.
Yeah.
Well, what is your sense for, because look, I'm more interested in the football, but I am intrigued by how this is going to play out. And yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical because I think the guy he replaced had built his way up to being like the guy I want to be on a number one crew on a network.
Greg Olson's great. No,
yes.
Greg Olson's fantastic. It's funny because I remember being at the Combine years ago, and Mark Snyder, who you and I know, we've talked about him on the show before,
he just came to town.
just came to town, selling the book on Michigan's 97 championship. Well, Mark and I went to breakfast, and Greg Olson, his agent, sat next to us and literally had the sort of intro conversation about, okay, Greg, you're moving into like your career now as a broadcaster. How are we going to do this? And now, like, seeing the success later, it's sort of fascinating to be like, oh yeah, remember we sat there and listened to him plan this for the first time at the combine years ago, and he was so great. And then obviously Brady comes in and bumps him, and I think what's interesting with Brady is that there's already a hitch, right? Because the whole element of Raiders ownership, he now can't do the normal things that Greg Olson could, which is the having the production meetings,
which matter.
having all these. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, zero question about that. That's a huge deal. Being able to sit in on production meetings, get inside details about the teams that are playing. I mean, there's a ton of stuff happens in those production meetings where analysts are privy to a lot of information that often they share in broadcasts, and a lot of times they don't share. And it's serious enough that the league was like, we can't have this. We can't have a partial owner of an NFL franchise now sitting in and finding out intimate details of other teams and doing it every single week. So yeah, it affects things. And we often on broadcast hear the analysts refer to conversations they had in the pre-production meetings, particularly with the quarterbacks and the coaches, always the quarterbacks and the coaches. They ask for the quarterbacks, the coaches, and then the head coach and the quarterback. And then they mine what is really concerning or just certain aspects of what they want to do scheme wise. Brady's going to be missing that. So I'm curious how that's going to impact his performance. And we've talked before on the show where the curiosity is how much will he criticize guys? And I think that's such a important element of the job, not just criticizing teams in a vague way. You have to be able to point at a specific player and saying, this guy's not doing his job, or, it's the element of criticism. He's been good at that up until this point, but it's been very broad strokes points, right? Like he'll tell you about how the quarterback position's going backwards, and he'll tell you about a lot of broad strokes things, but I've yet to hear him point at a specific player and go, I have a problem with how this guy is approaching his job, or what's getting done or not getting done on the field. Now he has to cross that threshold. That's part of why I love the Manning cast. Again, this is another thing we discussed on the show. I love that Peyton Manning, when you watch those games, he kind of he in a way embarrasses players all the time on those games where you're like, wow, this is like everything is his emotions on his sleeve, and he can't hide his disparagement or disappointment when someone does something foolish, particularly when it's a quarterback. And that's what I think makes that Manning cast. That's one of the things that I think makes the Manning cast really good. So we'll see. I mean, if Brady's flat, he's getting paid a heck of a lot of money, and I don't think you see this as a 1-year thing. But let's say he comes out and you're like, there's something missing here. There's depth missing. Sure, he could probably diagnose plays all day long like Tony Romo, but if he's not willing to criticize guys in a very specific way, and there's anything missing detail wise, you're going to go, they traded out Greg Olson for Tom Brady in a name, but what are we really getting at? My guess is the things that Romo did really well, that everyone really loves, the ability to tell you exactly what's going on, what guys think. He's going to be able to do that all day long. Like Romo will be a 1-for-1 match, but what made Romo fascinating was he would present it to you before it happened. He would say, here's what's going to happen. And then it would happen, and people would lose their minds. I think Brady can do that. Will he do that?
Charles, quickly, last thing here for you. Titans taking on the Bears in week 1. Obviously, there is a ton of hype and excitement for Caleb Williams in his NFL debut. What do you make of this matchup for the Titans coming up this weekend?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's no doubt. I don't know how much of Hard Knocks you guys have watched or some of the preseason stuff with Caleb, but he's everything you thought he could bring to the table for the Bears. He's brought to the table. Like, you can instantly see how much confidence they've already gained having him at quarterback. Like, just the special nature of things that he does day in and day out. It's funny. I have a neighbor in Houston who's a huge Bears fan, and he and I got into this huge argument before the draft because he didn't want them to deal Justin Fields. He didn't want them to trade for Caleb Williams. And now every time I see him, he won't shut up about Caleb Williams. And I think that's how Bears feel. You know, he brings, whether it's arm angles, whether it's just the arm talent, there are Mahomes-esque qualities that he has that I think we're going to see instantaneously. It'll be very exciting. I think there was going to be a lot of pressure on the Titans right away with someone who's got the ability to be very creative, got the ability to go out of structure and challenge them. I would say, you know, the middle of the Titans defense, which when I look at the Titans defense, like, okay, where can they be special? I think the middle of the Titans defensive line, you can create pressure. If you can create pressure on quarterbacks from the middle in games, it can be very, very disruptive. We'll see if the Titans can bring that to the table off the jump. But offensively, there's definitely going to be pressure on Levis. I would expect the Bears are going to be able to score points in this game. They're healthy, they're loaded, they're stacked at the wide receiver positions. And so if you're Will Levis and you're that offense and you're Brian Callahan, you got to hit the ground running. Like, I don't expect this to be a 17-14 type of game. I think there will be points put up in this game, and we're going to find out pretty fast whether our confidence in Will Levis, I got to put myself in there. How many times I've told people I think he's an undersold commodity in the NFL. It's going to be put to the test right away. You know, the wide receiver depth, how they use the running backs. Chicago's defense is, it's a good defense. You've got a number one corner. You've got legit defensive ends up front. They should be able to pressure Levis. He's probably going to take hits in this game, and that offensive line right away, we're going to find out, you know, how much better is the unit at this point. Funny thing too, I'll tell you real quick, because I went through the Browns camp, and I'm not going to say who, but it's just kind of funny losing Bill Callahan, seeing how the Browns have sort of absorbed it, because there are some people in the Browns organization who are like, yeah, we didn't need him around here anymore. He was wearing our guys out. like we have a veteran offensive line. We don't need someone who's just, you know, grinding them nonstop in practice. That time is over for us. It's okay that he's gone, and we'll be just fine. And then there are others who are like, nah, we're going to be worse without him. But it made me think at Tennessee, I was like, well, that's exactly what they need. They need the guy who's going to push them constantly. Like, that was the thing inside the Browns organization where they were like, they felt like, okay, we got to the point we didn't need him to be pushing these guys, you know, to the red line every single week during the course of a season. And, you know, when you have vets, you can pull back a little bit. And I think that's the opposite. I think Tennessee needs that for the growth, and that's probably a good thing. But it was funny because the first person I got to in the organization was just like, we're going to be fine, was all mad. I was asking about Bill Callahan. And then on the back end, I got somebody else who's like, yeah, we probably don't agree on that point. So I'm excited for Titans fans. I do think, and I hate saying this because I got crushed on it last year, right? Wasn't I? Remember we went into last year, I was like, I feel pretty optimistic about this team. I feel like, yeah, I still feel that sense of optimism about them. And, you know, I hope I don't get crushed on it again, but I do think that Tennessee has a chance to be a little bit of a surprising team offensively, you know, for the rest of the league, because clearly nobody likes Levis but us.
Clearly, no doubt about that. Charles, thanks for being with us. Appreciate your time as always, and we will talk to you on Thursday.
I appreciate it. One quick thing, Joe, are you still doing the Rex Rant like every day, or are you like trading this out? When are you going to do the Rex Rant on Rex Rants?
I probably
it's probably coming soon.
Yeah, have I not done that?
Yeah,
already?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, it's every day. But Robby takes them some days too. If you'd like to do a Robinson rant, let us know.
No. I enjoy that you have to drum up some irritability every single day. That's my.
Because I'm normally a very pleasant person.
You are.
All right, guys. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. You too. We'll have Jared Stillman with us coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Appreciate Charles Robinson for being with us, offering his insight into week 1 of the National Football League. And now we welcome another friend of the program, Jared Stillman, this morning on our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jared, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, fellas. How are you?
We're good. Thank you for taking time to be with us. So you got the Titans at 7-10. So do I. So does Vengen. Rexrode the Titans Bobo, and has them going 8-9 heading into the
Well,
year.
he didn't even cover the Titans anymore, so.
Oh, geez.
So do I cover them less than you cover them? What are you talking about? Do you talk about the Titans? Do you cover the Titans?
You are a writer.
Okay.
You're a scribe.
Capital J journalist.
Scribe. You don't write on the Titans anymore. It's very disappointing.
I don't write as much on them anymore, but we all, like everyone at this station, talk about the Titans. So what's the standard for quote unquote covering the Titans?
You don't do it anymore.
Okay. There you go.
Did you know Joe writes for The Athletic?
Well argued. Well, another well-argued point by Jared.
All right. So let's see.
So are you going to Chicago?
He is not.
I am not going to Chicago. Are you?
Are
you? If not, then you shouldn't talk about them.
I can't because I'm doing the pregame show on Sunday
That's
with
true.
Derek and Chris, and so that's kind of my
Responsibilities.
responsibility.
So you talk
covering
about
the
them, but
Titans.
you're not going to be at the game. That's weird. Huh.
Are
Why do we
you
allow that?
going-
Why do we allow
are
you
you
to
going-
talk about them?
Are you going to cover the home games like when they play the Jets at home?
I'll probably be at that game, yeah.
Okay, well, at least there's that.
And I know that you'll have your
Just let
high
me
noon.
know
I
if
know
you
you'll
wanna
be in
sit
a
with
suite
me,
with your
so-
high noon. Boo!
So just let me know if you wanna
Brian
sit with me on the
Callahan!
200 level with the
Booing
with
Brian
the
Callahan?
plebeians.
I'm sorry,
The
what?
plebeians.
Just let me know if you want to sit in the 200 level with me and cheer, Joe.
Yeah.
So
No, well, or
you.
boo. I'd like to sit next to you, and if the Titans make a
Hey.
personnel move that we don't like, we can go, Jared, ready? Boo! I can't wait to go on the radio tomorrow and go, boo, on the radio. Good
Hey,
stuff.
they put Malik back in there. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, that would probably be reason to do that. How big a deal is it for the Titans if Hopkins is not available for them in this game, as Taylor Lewan does not expect him to be?
I think it's kind of a big deal because Levis hasn't shown his compatibility with Calvin Ridley, and that's kind of a concern. And they've got one really, really, really good corner. And so it's like, okay, well, I'd like Levis to have options. And I know that DeAndre hasn't practiced in a month, but I do feel like DeAndre is Will Levis's guy. He was Will Levis's guy last year. And I know he's going to throw the ball to the running backs. I know he's going to throw the ball to Tyler Boyd. And I hope he doesn't throw the ball to the tight ends. But I do kind of feel like, they've got a chemistry together that if they don't have, and the Traylon Burks is out there, that's a massive drop off. So I think, the two teams are probably evenly matched. And I think that DeAndre Hopkins is a big part of what the Titans are going to try to do, especially early on.
So you think the Bears are – I feel like you keep flip-flopping on this. The Bears are bad or the Bears are good? Kelly Williams is bad or he's good? What's the Stilly take on this?
I think the Bears are an average NFL team. So as Robby pointed out, I pick every single game, Joseph, throughout the course of an NFL season yesterday. And I have the Bears at 9-8. And so 9-8 is what? Average. So I think the Bears are an average team. And I think the Titans are probably a little bit below that. But again, I think those two teams are kind of evenly matched. If I had to tell you who was, the best between the two, I guess I would probably lean Chicago. But it's certainly not like the Titans playing the Chiefs. So I think Chicago's an average team. I don't think that they're good. Everybody in the country thinks Chicago is going to make it to the playoffs, and Caleb Williams is already ready to be a star and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not there yet. But I also don't think the Bears are New England.
On the defensive side of the ball here, obviously the first time we're going to see all these corners together. Good matchup between them on paper and the Bears receivers that are coming up. Based on what you've seen in camp and based on, I guess, the work that he had in the preseason, your expectations for Tavondre Sweat in game one, whether it's snap percentage, whether it's impact in the game, what are you looking for from big number 93?
I expect Tavondre Sweat to flash a bunch. I expect him to, either make a couple of plays or, take up 3 guys like Billy Bob and Varsity Blues and set other people up to make the plays. I expect it to be like the Saints game where, he had one where he chased after the quarterback, and then he had another one. I don't know what, I think he chased out a screen or they tried to run right at him. And it just was a black hole, and he just the running back got lost. That's what I expect on Sunday. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe it will. I mean, the interior of their line has Nate Davis in it, which would be a concern.
That's true.
If I was the Bears. So I expect to see Tavondre Sweat out there doing something. If this is like the San Francisco game where he doesn't do anything, and then we have to get all these Titan homers out there to sit there like Joe to tell us why he didn't do anything in the game, I'll be disappointed. I expect us to not have any question about what Tavondre Sweat was doing on Sunday when we talk about the game on Monday.
Wait, what? So I'm a Tavondre Sweat homer?
You're a Titans homer.
Oh, I'm just a general Titans homer.
Yes.
Okay. Says
Like
the foremost Bobo at our station. says
after
with your pom poms watching the game.
After the San Francisco game when Tavondre Sweat didn't do anything, all of the fanboys on Twitter were like, "Well, you don't understand. San Francisco had schemed up against Tavondre Sweat, and they double teamed him, and they this and they that." And
I saw no tweets that said this.
I saw a few.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I don't have the same fanboy feed on my Twitter account. So what does it have to do? What does it have to do with me? I covered that game. What does that have to do with me?
You're a homer, like those other homers.
Oh, okay. Because you say so.
Big Titan
do you have any
Bobo.
objective metrics to back up that
you had been
statement?
8-9. Everybody else has them at 17.
Yeah, that's right. Am I the most optimistic at the station of the people picking the Titans?
Well,
Willie and D Mace, have they picked anything?
I don't know what Chase has picked. God bless him, but Chase, I think, out of the goodness of his heart, I think gives the teams the benefit of the doubt, the local teams, more often than I think he should. I think you give them the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt. I think you give that to them out of them convincing you by talking to you on the side, saying, Joe, I actually think it's going to be.
That's a great. No, you got a great feel. You got a great feel for things. Yeah.
It's going to be so good because the coach told me that.
Yeah. No, you got your finger on the pulse of things as usual, Jared. That's great analysis.
Like this.
Great analysis.
Derek thinks they're going to compete. Derek thinks they're going to compete for the division this year.
Yeah. Then
I don't know where Willie's at, and I don't know where Chase is at. Joe Rexrode says 8-9, which means average team, bounce here, bounce there. They could make the playoffs, but they probably won't. Me, Robby, and Vingan are all living in reality at 7-10.
Huge difference there. That's a cut line between reality and fantasy. It's 7 and 8. Yeah. I mean, you're really hitting it today.
5 games. Ian has his expectations at 4 wins this year.
I saw that.
Ooh, Ian.
And so we're a whole range here, but you're definitely in the top half of the group.
Because to the side, Brian Callahan's like, hey, actually, but I think we're gonna.
He did give you a shout out.
I think we're gonna be better
on the official Titans podcast. So
I still haven't heard that.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
What did he say? Did he say good writing, Joe? Saying everything that I told you on background to write as the truth.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably.
That's pretty much what it was.
Probably. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I wish he wouldn't tell.
Joe.
I wish he wouldn't tell people
I'm
that.
gonna miss you, Joe. Carrying water for me. I talked to the last coach when I saw him over at Corner Pub ripping heaters, and he told me, "Whatever you do, become friends with Rexrode because he will take whatever you tell him and say it as gospel."
Yeah, for sure. Vrabel was very happy with that story that they had last year. He was super excited about that.
Jared, happy week 1. Thanks for being with us.
The one that you talked to Vrabel on?
What? What
you
in the
said
hell
Vrabel
are you
was really
talking about?
happy about that story last year. I'm guessing it's the story where you and Diana had I guess it's probably Diana.
Jared, I think right now is a good time for you to stop pretending you know what the hell is going on in media
Are you
things.
talking about the
I know you always, Diana's only source is Vrabel. And then it's like, well, no, that's not even close to true. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. So just stop trying. There's plenty of other things that you can blab about that you also don't know crap about. But just, leave me out of your mouth.
Robby, when's the last time Diana broke news on the Titans?
Well, she broke it after Vrabel. So Clearly has more sources than Vrabel.
That is true. Uh-oh.
What did she?
Uh-oh.
What did she break?
She broke like a signing or two, didn't she?
Yeah.
Oh yes, Sadiq Charles. That's right.
What? Charles doesn't do transactional signings, dude.
No.
No, Sadiq Charles, what he said.
Oh,
Charles.
Sadiq. I thought
She
I
broke
thought you said
that.
she beat
The
Charles.
Titans were signing
Wow.
Sadiq Charles up to $2.5 million. And we were like, who the hell is that?
There you go.
So what does that mean?
Well, it means that when Mike Vrabel was the coach, every piece of news from the Titans was broken by Diana, including like Rand
Is that
Carthon's
true?
hiring. And now the only thing Diana gets is Sadiq Charles.
Again, Inspector Clouseau is on the case, folks. Thank goodness.
Jared, have a good weekend.
Joe, get back to recruiting rankings.
Oh, I'm looking forward to those.
Okay.
Thank you, Jared.
Bye, Jared. What a whiner.
He's all into the Rexrode doesn't cover the Titans anymore, which is not theoretically true.
No, but yeah, of course he's got to take shots wherever he can. Someone says the Rexrode Stillman shtick is so annoying. Why do you even have him on the show? I ask myself the same thing sometimes.
615
He's kind of ugly though.
737-1025. We'll react to what Charles and Jared both had to say. Also, going to get into a big weekend of college football coming up. We got a loaded show today. Clark Lee at 7:30, TD at 8, talking all things Titans and Bears. Pigskin Pick'em at 8:30. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Folks, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It is, after all, America's #1 sportsbook. But we got something different for you. Joe Rex here letting you know. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. I subscribe to both. I believe in both. And I think you will absolutely love that with the YouTube TV base plan, you're going to be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. So you got a team from elsewhere. You want to check out Brady's call, whatever it is. All you need is a Google account, current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. It's a pretty sweet deal. You visit FanDuel.com/Joe102 and download America's #1 sportsbook and get started. You must be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after the free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Appreciate Charles Robinson and Jared Stillman for being with us on the program, taking your thoughts. 615-737-1025, our phone number. By the way, make sure you tune in to 93.3 Totally Hits Nashville this Sunday for coverage of the Quaker State 400. Coverage will begin at 1 o'clock. Race set to start at 2. Coverage also available on the 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey from Antioch says, Joe, you're a hater. Stilly is right and usually is. Another texter says, Joe talking condescendingly to Jared is old, especially since Jared has grown into the best in Nashville.
Oh, I got some of the fleas are circling on our text line.
Right. They have moved from the dog's butt.
Right.
And are now circling.
I thought you told me that somebody was enjoyed the high noon comment.
Yes,
I
Paul on the text line says, Joe, if the text will pull up, in the stands with your high noon, spit out my coffee.
There we go. That's what we're going for. Spitting out the coffee.
Yeah.
Stilly is right and usually is. Trey from Antioch, man. I'll tell you what, in terms of like the consistently bad takes, where's Trey from Antioch rank?
Whoo! Trey, you going to take that?
I appreciate the consistency, though.
Man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do agree with people that like the sniping. I mean, it's unproductive. However, we at least did not talk about Mason Rudolph, so we'll call.
I wasn't even going to mention the name.
Call that a win. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have. But someone on the text line said, "Please don't do it."
Please, for the love of God.
And I was glad that we did not get there. So
we'll have Clark Lee coming up here in just a few minutes. Joe, quickly getting into the college football slate this weekend. Obviously, Tennessee, NC State. We've talked a lot about that matchup. We will more later in the show. Texas, Michigan, big one coming up in the early game on Saturday. What do you make of that matchup? What do you make of Texas going on the road to Michigan and Michigan's chances in this one? Michigan, it looked, they looked okay, but kind of messed around a little bit with Fresno State, pulled away at the end. We ended up winning by 20, which I took them at minus 20.5 and Pigskin Pick'em, and they won by 20. We're already in bad beat season on Pigskin Pick'em. Good stuff. What do you make of that matchup coming up this weekend? Unquestionably the game of the week in college football.
Yeah, no, I think so. It's a big one, and Michigan touchdown underdog at home.
Yep.
How about that?
Which I don't hate.
Yeah, no, I know that's the thing. Michigan still has a really good defense. Yes, they looked pretty bad on offense against Fresno State. There's no doubt. So new quarterback situation. They kind of have a combo quarterback thing going. They lost their whole offensive line. So that side of the ball is, they need this to be a Big Ten kind of game. They need this to be a 17-13 kind of game. Can they create that kind of game against Texas's offense? I think at home, that defense, I think that, they have a chance to hold the score down. So I think they got a real chance to pull this off tomorrow. I know a lot of my coworkers do not think so. NC State, Tennessee, is that the second best game tomorrow?
Could be.
The sneaky interesting game tomorrow, and maybe I don't want to overreact because Oregon actually, they dominated the game, the scoreboard. They didn't dominate the scoreboard, but Boise State, Oregon, Peacock game at 9 o'clock Saturday.
Yes.
So a little, formerly Pac-12 after dark could be interesting. But also, of course, Nico's chance, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but Nico's opportunity to, kind of announce himself. Another one, just throwing this out there, okay?
Okay.
I don't want to give anybody any pigskin pick'em ideas, but, South Florida, Alex Golesh, second year, he's got a big-time quarterback. And, last year, Alabama was a mess. The weather was a mess. Saban was going to the other quarterbacks, and they were not good and all that stuff. But, they almost upset them last year.
They did.
This is at Alabama. Alabama looked pretty good last week, destroying Western Kentucky. But South Florida is a team that, with that offense, I think can score some points in this game. So I'm just saying that game might be a little bit more interesting than some might give it credit for.
How much intrigue do you have in Colorado, Nebraska this weekend with the Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Raiola matchup at quarterback?
Yeah, that's the other. Yeah, that's the thing. That'll get probably more attention in general than the Tennessee NC State game. Then we'll see how the games go. But Yeah, I'm very interested in that game. It's a huge one for both teams. I think actually that Nebraska could be kind of a sneaky team this year. But how good is Dylan Raiola? I mean, he's the number one recruit in the country, I believe, right? Certainly the number one quarterback in the country.
He looks like a clone of Patrick Mahomes in terms of
He's
his
got the
hair.
Mahomes hair,
Yeah.
exactly. And some of the throws he made in the first week, you're like, oh, okay, yep, I see that. So that's gonna be interesting. And of course, Colorado, although they were a little shaky in that opener, their great players were great. So are they good enough to win a game like this on the road? I have my doubts.
It's going to be interesting. I have my doubts too. I think last time I looked, Nebraska was like a touchdown favorite in that one. I'll have to go see what the line is now. But certainly that's going to be a game, especially with those two quarterbacks, that gets talked about a lot. Like I said, we'll get into Tennessee, NC State a little bit later in the program. Big one coming up for the Vols on Saturday night. Clark Lee, Vanderbilt head coach, will join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the week that has been for Vanderbilt. They got a matchup with Alcorn State coming up. And the player that's taken the nation by storm, Diego Pavia. His thoughts on all that coming up as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in Clark Lee to the program, Vanderbilt head football coach. Clark, good morning. How are you?
Doing really well. How are you guys doing?
Awesome, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. A lot of fun to watch you guys last week. I know your attention has moved fully to Alcorn State at this point, but I do want to start on you with the quarterback with you here. It did not take long for me, anyway, watching him play last week before I just, my wife and I were watching the game, and I just turned to her and I said, man, this guy is an absolute dog. Like, when did you know, being around Diego Pavia, the competitive makeup was what it was? And I guess how evident was that just from you being around it?
I picked it up on film watching him play last year, specifically watching him play in the Auburn game. He was like a magician on that field. There was nothing that stood out in terms of just this like pure physical traits, but like just the way he competed and played. And again, he's got the physical tools. It's not like you're just blown away with any one thing. It's just you see the ultimate competitor. And in that game, he threw an interception early. And he tracked the linebacker down and suplexed him on the sideline. And it was like one of those plays. I was like, oh my God, this guy is just wired differently. And then when I first spoke to him on the phone, and I've said this a couple times the last couple of weeks, but this job for me has been a lot of convincing. I have the vision for success for Vanderbilt and to kind of have an understanding of what's held the program back. And obviously we have to keep pushing to change the paradigm here and to really, we have to change from inside out before we can be changed in the way we're perceived outside in. But, I continue to preach this message about, what the vision is and what we're capable of accomplishing here. And again, a lot of that energy for me is, trying to convince people to see it the way I see it. And it's not hard for me because it's my belief and it's how I wake up every morning. But it's not often that I connect with someone that has the same exact vision and the same exact belief. And the first conversation I had with Diego on the phone, he said to me, I look forward to come and help you win a championship at Vanderbilt. And it was so natural and like it just, again, it was like looking in the mirror and having that conversation. And then he honestly lives that out every day. There's nothing that's over the top. I think what you see in his performance is as kind of like outspoken as he is. I mean, he is a very methodical worker. He's got a very clear process. He's attentive to detail on the field. He makes mistakes. It's not like he's perfect in practice, but he owns them. He's always looking for an edge. It's just, it's been a lot of fun to watch him work. And then he builds the connection with his teammates. He has them over to his house. They're hanging out. He takes the time to get to know people. My kids love him. I mean, before they even knew he played quarterback, he was playing hoops with them in the little, on the mini goals we have in the meeting rooms. And they're like, where's Diego? Where's Diego? I get a picture sent. They're eating dinner with him in Hendricks. It's just like, he's that kind of connector. And it's really a special formula. And obviously we feel great about being 1-0 and a great start to the season. Any season's going to deliver adversity too. And I think in those moments, we're going to be as glad to have him on our team as any.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I think a lot of people have opened their eyes to what he is as a player and some of the things you're talking about, those intangibles. Also, the scheme, of course, is fun on its own, right? Like, and you have Diego for this year. How do you feel about, and I know you mentioned the Auburn game, you dug in on that, you went and talked to Tim Beck and got the ball rolling there, but how do you feel about, I guess, the long-term, sustainability of this scheme and how it maybe suits Vanderbilt?
Well, it's centered around creating advantage and leverage with formation and motion. So we're doing things in terms of our system that put the defense at a disadvantage or at least challenge them before the ball snapped. And we did a study on like unbalanced formations from the last couple of years, and it was in the SEC we used as few of those really as anyone. I think we were like second to last, and that's not again a formula for us. Where we're not always going to win matchups across the field. There are things that we need to do in our design that create advantage before the ball snaps, and so you see that coming to fruition here with what Coach Beck has installed. The other part of it is, the ability to funnel the offense through the quarterback. So his ability to extend plays with his legs, to run them, to create gap advantages when you run the quarterback. Again, those are things that limit the defense's ability just to call and haul plays. They got to be accounting for 11 players each snap. And then, what we want to get to is within that is an ability to also just unleash an explosive passing game. Because once you get teams kind of cued in on having to stop the run, then that's your chance to kind of get up and over the top. And so, looking to continue to develop that part of it, but the scheme is a scheme. Obviously I think that what Tim's doing is creative, and I think it's given us the best possible chance to be the program that I want this to be, which is complementary, and we can control the game offensively. But the style, like what excited me about Saturday, obviously the result was great. I'm trying to always take a long-term approach to these things. It's one game. We got to keep developing our team. But what I saw when I watched was a physical offense, a physical offensive line, an offensive line working together, an offensive line winning the line of scrimmage against a good defensive front, running backs that were physical in protection, that were chipping the edges and creating time for the quarterback, receivers that were blocking down the field and making tough contested catches. And those are the things that I feel like we've missed on that side of the ball. It's not just the scheme, it's the identity. And I credit our coaching staff, Coach Beck, Coach Gill, Coach Glenakis, all those guys, Coach G, Alex Bailey, all of them, with really paying attention to that level of identity and connection. What I see right now is an offense that trusts the process, trusts each other, and is playing really hard for one another. And that'll get you most of the way, right? And then it becomes the coach's job to create the edge for the rest of the way. But I'm excited about that. We need to keep being that type of team.
Well, Clark, you mentioned your receivers making tough contested catches. I thought Quincy Skinner embodied that on Saturday against Virginia Tech. He's a guy that's been with you the whole time. 4 catches, 72 yards, a touchdown in the first game. Just what can you say about him, the progress he's made, and the playmaker that he's turned into for your team?
He's always shown these flashes, and anyone who knows Quincy knows, like, this guy's got an incredible heart. He's a great person. I personally, one of my favorite guys to see in the hallway. Like, Q and I are always giving each other a hard time and having fun. I have a lot of fun just interacting with him, and I'm grateful to have him here and grateful to be able to share this time with him. He's always shown flashes on the field, and never the consistency to do it game in, game out, down in, down out. And that's not, abnormal for a young player that's growing and developing. I also think the chemistry was off in that room last year, in the last couple of years. And I think there wasn't great mentorship in that room the last couple of years. And so you had a young player trying to figure it out really on his own, and maybe not having the best examples to guide him to what it looks like to be a pro. And that's the mindset that ultimately it takes to deliver consistency is, no matter good play, bad play, it's all about the next play. It's, as a receiver, you may not get, the touches you want, but you better be prepared when the ball comes your way in the moment. And if you've spent time, in a negative headspace around what you're not getting or whatever, there's only one ball. It's going to funnel through the quarterback. Everyone's going to touch it. Be ready when it comes to you. That's the mindset, again, that takes to be consistent. What I've seen from him, I think he's really benefited from Coach Beck, and I think Coach Bailey has done a great job getting him just dialed into a process. So I saw glimpses of this in the spring, although I think there was still just some growth that needed to occur. There was like the second week of the summer, I just started to see him lock into place. And his physical tools are off the charts. So, everyone knows he can run. He's strong. He's powerful. He's got big hands. He's a strong catcher. But it's the mental tools that unlock the physical potential. And about, again, that second week in the summer, and then I just watched him totally change. I mean, he put so much time, invested so much of his effort into his process, and I've seen him grow up before my eyes. So it's been really cool. And obviously to have him come out in the first game and make some really key plays for us was awesome. And now it's about just staying in that process and, being ready to when the ball comes his way. But very proud of Q and excited for him to have a great season.
So a lot to like also, Clark, on what you guys did defensively against an explosive offense. What was that first game week like for you, as head coach / defensive coordinator, and how are you feeling about that side of the ball?
Well, the first half, I felt like I couldn't miss. It was a little easier than I remembered it being. And then obviously we took on water in the third quarter, which that's a good offense and a good team. And you would expect that. I think there was a combination. What good teams do is they make you pay when you make mistakes. And we made too many mistakes in the third quarter. And, part of my challenge is we need to be complex enough to spread the hard down around the field. I don't believe that we're to a point right now in terms of just who we are in our matchups to play one defense the entire game, right? That's just too much exposure. So, we got to be able to cloud the field. We got to be able to cloud the boundary. You got to be able to insert the safety. We got to be able to pressure. We got to be able to do things that give, that relieve some of the stress up front, in the second level, but certainly in the secondary. And, in the third and fourth quarter, look, in the stretch where they battled back and ended up taking the lead, we did build to some stops. We did force field goals. There was some good play in there. We did get them off schedule on early downs. We didn't execute on a couple of third downs, which unlocked kind of a flurry of punches we absorbed. And a lot of those, when you go back to it, it's you're going to look at it and say, hey, this is about executing the defense. And they were able to take advantage of our missed execution. The one play that I want back is the long touchdown on 3rd and 10 that, is just inexcusable. And we need to be better. And there's a lot of things that in that snap that we can learn from, but that's the one to me that undercuts the mission of winning. In that scenario where you have a lead, if you're forcing them into methodical drives, you're shortening the game, and you're forcing them to kick field goals, you're going to win. But to let them uncork one like that, is not okay. So we're going to learn from that and move forward. Other than that, and again, that stretch in the third and fourth quarter where I felt like we had to battle back through some adversity, I was proud of the way the guys represented themselves. I thought we were a physical team. I thought we built the run wall inside out. We forced them onto the perimeter. We were pursuing the ball at a high level and we were disruptive on the ball. I think there's a couple more turnovers out there for us that if we can finish on, we're going to really enjoy the finish of that game. But obviously the big one early that set up the touchdown was a big confidence boost to us. And so that's the kind of unit we want to be. We want to be assertive. We want to be aggressive. We want to, be out there playing physical and playing fast and hunting the ball down. And, I think for the first time out, I thought it was, a good day's work.
Well, Clark, it was a ton of fun to watch. We're looking forward to the matchup coming up tomorrow night against Alcorn State. And thanks so much for taking time to be with us this morning. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, good to be with you guys always. Take care.
Absolutely. Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hey, Robbie Stanley here. It's NFL Week, and FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook has a special offer to kick us off. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. With the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment and you can cancel anytime. So maybe you're a big New York Giants fan, and with Danny Dimes at the helm, slinging it back there, why wouldn't you be? You could watch it every single week with this plan. Just visit FanDuel.com/Rob to download America's #1 sportsbook. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/Rob. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after a free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line today at 1-800-889-9789.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
What's up? This is Scott Stapp from Creed, and you're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 The Game. Okay, did I say Rexrode right?
Rexrode.
Rexrode. Okay, let me do that again.
Worries.
What's up? This is Scott Stapp from Creed, and you're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 The Game.
You know, there are some things in life that we can probably play and or hear too much. That is not one of them. They will never get old.
Pretty special. Again, the
No
no worries is still my favorite.
No worries. Don't worry about it. Scott Stapp, it's all good.
By the way, what were these two goofballs doing over here?
Woody and Jim?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They opened the screen and they're taking video of us.
Well,
They said they had a sign that said Happy Taylor Swift. Excuse
Season.
me, so Taylor Swift season.
It's a popular program. and people just sometimes want to be involved.
People don't understand that sometimes we hear them have outbursts and
just have
also
30
they take
seconds
our
ago.
parking spots and also sometimes have to wait for coffee.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear their bell?
I may
We're
not
gonna have a show fight.
We may have to have a show fight with Woody and Jim. I'm
Okay.
here for it. Jim actually is kind of looks like a sneaky, like little wrestler dude.
Jim's a hockey player.
Yeah, see,
Might mess with you.
those little, like Diego Pavia, like a wrestler. That dude's that's a state championship.
I think Clark
wrestler,
Lee liked it when I said that dude's a dog.
Yeah,
He's a dog.
he did. Yeah,
He
That was
is.
good stuff. He is.
Look,
No,
he was
he's
talking the
awesome.
other day about he was like Johnny Manziel, like the Tate McSorley thing, which, by the way, he's catching some strays out there. But he's like, I kind of view myself more as, Johnny Manziel. I like it.
Yeah,
I like the confidence. I really do.
No, he's awesome. He's it's all he's. I got asked a question like the resilience they had late in that game. That's just not a Vanderbilt thing. You give up and Clark kind of talked us through the touchdown, but the Vanderbilt. And I know a lot of fan bases can say, well, that's what happened to us too. It happens to us too. We crumble or whatever. But there's a lot of Vanderbilt defeats snatched from the jaws of victory.
No doubt.
So the question is, then how is this team tough enough to do what they did? And to me, I mean, you got to start with the quarterback.
A lot of
right?
it comes down to
I mean,
quarterback.
he came back at that very next drive when it's like, okay, well, here comes the 3-and-out or the strip sack or whatever. And he just said, no.
Yep.
And so I think you start there. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him. I'm going to keep this with college football. This comes to mind with some of the Penny Hardaway stuff happening this week, and it's just like that place is. I mean, his tenure to me is just like whatever. I mean, he might get another year, but it's year 6, 2 NCAA bids, and it's like just constant turmoil and firings and new staff members and the academic stuff. That's the stuff that still to me really bothers me. But it also brings to mind the point that, like, everybody can rip on the NCAA, and we do, and I do, and all that stuff. But, like, let's keep remembering that the NCAA is a member organization, and the schools, they assign people to do this, and they want these rules to be. It's like that some people think that it's like this separate watchdog organization. It's the schools that create it, and they want the rules to be enforced. So I just picked Michigan I think that they could beat Texas. I think I need to take a little shot at swipe at Harbaugh this week, because this week there's an ESPN story, and there's still some people asking about all the stuff with him, which, if you saw the Connor Stallions doc, have you watched it yet?
I have not. I need to get on.
Yeah,
that.
it's worth watching. It is. It's worth watching. I'd actually be really interested in your take.
Okay.
But this is a Harbaugh quote, and Harbaugh very recently got into the whole. He had the we should do revenue sharing, all that stuff. It's like great. And he got celebrated for it. It's like okay, I mean, that's fine. This is his response on the NCAA, which of course is like, you are persona non grata anymore. Don't even try to come back here. And he probably won't. But win with the Chargers. Here's the quote. He said, "Quote." On the NCAA, they've been keeping money away from players for decades.
I saw that.
They just got hit with a $2.7 billion lawsuit. They have no credibility. That's the truth. End quote.
I saw that.
That's Jim Harbaugh. So in the meantime, this quote has been making the rounds. Jim Harbaugh in 2018 asked about paying players, right? Because he's the champion of that. And the NCAA is this terrible organization. Okay, let me read this quote from Jim Harbaugh. Quote, education is what's most valuable. People think what's good for them, what they need are different things. Does their scholarship become a taxable benefit? Is the government going to say, okay, now you owe us 40%? The 1% able to play college football and get the degree, that's what's best for them. If anything, that's a lot, and it should be valued as such. No, I don't think they should get paid, end quote. Again, what he said there is what 98% of coaches or more, 99% of coaches were saying at the time.
Yep.
But let's just
chill on the.
Let's just chill, okay? You got popped for cheating, and no deflection is going to change that. And let's not try to revise history, okay?
We got Teron Davenport coming up next. We'll get into the Titans and the Bears week 1 matchup with him. Looking forward to that. Tune in to 93.3 Totally FM Hits Nashville tomorrow for MTSU football. Blue Raiders on the road taking on Ole Miss. Pregame at 1:45, kickoff at 3:15. Coverage also available on the 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville app and at TotallyHitsNashville.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ESPN's Turon Davenport, Talking Titans, now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week. Turon Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD, with us now on our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Titans and the Bears coming up in week 1. TD, good morning. How we doing?
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Good. We made it to football season, TD. We're all doing good. I mean, this is perfect time of year.
Yeah, it's you got more tonight, and college on Saturday, and the Titans on Sunday. Well, what could be better?
It's one of the best weekends of the entire year. I want to start on the Titans standpoint on the defensive side of the ball. When they're playing man coverage, especially in a matchup like this where you're going up against the receiving corps, it's really good. Do you expect that it's going to be Snead on one side of the field, Awuzie on the other? Is Snead going to travel against a DJ Moore or whoever the other team's best receiver ends up being? Like, how do you expect the Titans to handle that part of it when they're playing man?
Yeah, I think in this case, because you got three guys who are legit candidates to be number one receivers, I think they'll just go ahead and side it up. No cat coverage. You just, you're here, he's there, and Roger McCreary, you got the nickel, and I think that's how it'll go. Now, if a particular receiver starts to get off and have a good outing against whoever's covering them, I would imagine they'll either go more to zone and in the man situations, B, shift someone else to cover that guy. That's the luxury you have when you have a guy like Snead. You could do either, and he's good in all three, cat coverage, regular side, and man. Zone.
Do you get the sense, TD, with Denard Wilson's defense? Because obviously we talk about aggression, but, there's different iterations of this defense. It's not like they're totally blitz heavy. He has seemed that way in camp, but also, it's camp and your offense is working on stuff, so it doesn't always tell the story. Like, do you think that it's going to be tons of pressuring on Caleb Williams Sunday? How do you think it'll look from that perspective?
Yeah, I think they're going to attack, but it's funny because I had asked Denard Wilson about that, and I had said, like, throw the sink at him, and he said, oh, no, we're not necessarily going to throw the sink at him. So I think they're going to mix it up. The main thing is just as Brian Callahan said, you got to make them uncomfortable. And I think by doing that, they're going to mix coverages. They'll, have some blitzes. They'll also just, send 4 and drop 7. It's really going to be essential to mix it all up. And I think that's what they do. But in those third and long situations, I would imagine Denard Wilson is going to go after him.
So, TD, there's obviously a ton of hype on Caleb Williams heading into this game. Deservedly so. He's no one overall pick. He could make some ridiculous throws. I guess, number one, how interested are you to watch him play against this Titans defense on Sunday? And number two, if you're Denard Wilson, what do you think the best way to attack, a rookie, albeit a very talented one, who's making his first start in the National Football League?
Yeah, I can't wait to watch him play. I have been someone who thought really highly of him since he came in. Was it that Texas game? He came in and he led them. I'm pretty sure it was the Texas. No, it was the week before the Texas game. But nevertheless, he's consistently shown, those off-platform throws, the ability to extend plays and everything. It stresses the defense. So I think, what I would do is just have a coordinated pass rush, right? You got to make sure your guys understand, and Denard Wilson have any independent contractors. You have to be coordinated, because if you have one guy, running the arc on right, and then another one on the left, and the pocket being collapsed, if that guy on one of the sides isn't where he needs to be, there's an escape lane, and he could go far, you know what I mean, or attack the line and draw the defense and throw it over them for a big play. So you have to make sure you're coordinated and you contain him. And he can still throw from the pocket, but it's like, he's much less likely to beat you from the pocket than he is making plays and doing his Patrick Mahomes imitation.
So, TD, we've got Taylor Lewan, I guess breaking news, or maybe breaking news, talking about just talking about the Titans line with the Bears, saying that Hopkins isn't playing. Hopkins not really, staying either way. Do you think that he's out? Do you think that today it'll be an out designation, a questionable designation? And if he is out, I would assume that means Traylon Burks' huge opportunity here.
Yeah, I think he'll be questionable. You also have to add Paul Kuharsky. He got the MCL news that was the injury, a torn MCL. So that kind of made me take a step back, like, oh, okay, maybe he will be out, but we'll see. I mean, watching him run around, he seemed to be okay, right? He went through all the drills in the individual period, but it's one of those things where you never know. Like they may, as Tyke Tober said, and be trying to protect him from himself and keep him from playing, or maybe he'll see 20, 30% of the snaps as a way just to kind of work into seeing all of them.
So, TD, I mean, we've gone through training camp, the preseason, the offseason, and we've talked about Will Levis ad nauseum. My question for you on him heading into this game, what do you want to see in this game, maybe even early in the game from Will Levis that will signal to you, you know what, yeah, he's made some progress, and he's taken a big step this offseason?
I want to see the deep pass, all the deep options being covered, and him taking the underneath. I want to see him show that even though he's thirsty to get the ball down the field, he will come off of that and go to the, shorter throws and things like that, not going broke, making a profit, right? And I also want to see his pocket awareness, him able to move around in there a little bit more. Obviously, last year, it was a swinging gate in front of him as far as the offensive line. Now he has some security, so I want to see how he's able to show, his pocket movement and those types of things. And even just the operation, he and Cushenberry, how are they going to communicate, changing, protections and him changing the plays with other, with the skill guys, et cetera. So those are the things that I'll be looking for. I think he has a good game, but I mean, this defense, Bears defense is really good.
Yep. Well, and speaking of those guys up front, TD, obviously they've settled on that 5 for a while now, which I think is always important, in terms of getting that continuity and chemistry. What is your sense watching those guys work together through camp at this point? Like, do you feel is it fair to say, like, do you think this could be a middle of the pack kind of offensive line in the league? How much better do you think it could be? What would be your primary concern among that group?
Yeah, I think it could be middle of the pack. Quietly, they run well to the right side. I mean, there have been multiple times where I saw Tony Pollard get to that right side and Nicholas Petit-Frere giving him a good block, and even Dilla Radens, to spring him. So I think from a running perspective, I think they're in good shape there. And we know that they're going to want to run the football. That's something they're going to do. I really don't think that there's necessarily a weak spot, right? We'll see how Radens could handle, some of these interior pass rushers and interior guys. But I think they've started to come together, and you'll see the communication continue to improve and them just being in sync. And that's something else I've been asking about, right? Getting these guys in a rhythm, right? When you look at, running the football, allowing them to be the aggressor, right? And Latham, he spoke about it yesterday, just how important it is to have an opening drive where you kind of impose your will, you set the tone. And, I asked him about his Alabama days and how that changed stuff when they went into an adverse environment. And he definitely acknowledged that. And he said that's something that they want to do here.
TD, you a big deep dish pizza guy? Is that going to be on the menu for you this weekend? Are you out on the deep dish pizza?
He's not a deep dish guy. That's lasagna, right?
I'm going to try it. Try it. I haven't had it before. It is Taste of Chicago weekend also, so I'm looking forward to, running around the city and trying different food. And it's funny because my lady's mom and her aunt are going to be out there, so I'm gonna be hanging out with the future in-laws, I guess you could call it. So nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Aren't you also going to a Cubs game with Andrew and Kuharsk?
Oh boy!
And make sure you get that buffer seat with Andrew between you and Kuharsk, so you're not annoyed the whole game, man.
No, I want to be next to Kaharski. So every time the Yankees don't do well, I could just. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to turn and look at them.
Can you believe these guys? Oh, God.
Mets fan trolling a Yankees
Gonna
fan.
be
I
awesome.
like it.
Yes, that's it right there.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, TD, have a great time in Chicago this weekend. Appreciate so much, as always, you being with us today, and have fun this weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys. Take
Absolutely.
it easy.
Teron Davenport, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Hot take for you. I don't know how much of a hot take it is. I think deep dish pizza kind of sucks. I'm not a huge fan of it.
Okay. Well, I don't. But if you talk about style, I get when people are like, it's not like real pizza. I do think of pizza as more like the New York style pizza.
Yeah.
Like big slice.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well, let me
cheese,
rephrase.
sauce,
Okay.
meat.
Yeah.
Come on.
I should probably have a baseline here. I've been to Chicago. I waited with Vingan, I think, 3 hours for Lou Malnati's.
Lou Malnati's, yeah.
And I got in there, finally got it. I was like, this is what I just waited 3 hours for? Okay.
I like some Lou Malnati's. But
First off, I mean, there's nothing on the earth that I would voluntarily choose to wait 3 hours for. It
Right.
we were there.
that's going to sour the experience
Yes.
from the start. Yeah.
Right. So ever since then, I've been out on deep dish pizza.
But the underrated one, everybody, is Detroit style pizza.
Yeah.
Detroit style pizza. That is, you give it a shot.
Don't tell Clinton. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan today as the Sounds take on Gwinnett. Pregame at 6:20. First pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Sounds baseball presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is from River Queen Voyages. River Queen Voyages, the most fun and unique way to see the downtown skyline from the water. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to River Queen Voyages while supplies last. If you missed our interview with Clark Lee earlier, go check it out, Robby and Rexrode, wherever you get your podcast. Speaking of Clark Lee, tune in to 102.5, 106.3 The Game tomorrow for Vanderbilt football. Commodores taking on Alcorn State at home. Pregame at 5 o'clock, kickoff at 6:30. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. We will have Pigskin Pick'em coming up here in just a few minutes at 8:30. We will get to the Titans and the Bears, Vanderbilt, Alcorn State, Tennessee, NC State, all of the above. Thanks to TD for being with us. I am interested, particularly in the matchup tomorrow. Like I think TD's probably right. When you got DJ Moore, you've got Keenan Allen, you got Roma Dunze, who granted is a rookie, but a very talented one. That's three receivers, if you're Chicago, that you feel pretty good about in this matchup. And you're countered by Snead, Awuzie, McCreary. Do you think when they're in man tomorrow, it's just going to be, all right, L'Jarius, you got that side of the field. Cheeto, you got that side of the field. McCreary, you've got the nickel. And that's how they start? Or do you think as either in this matchup or as the season goes along, we are going to see the Titans say, L'Jarius Snead, that's their best receiver. You follow him. You go cover him. Because as Kuharski pointed out the other day, they really have not done that in the history of their franchise. They did it some with Samari Rolle, but by and large, that's not really happened with the Titans.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like how many corners have they had where it's like, this is our lockdown guy who we're going to put on your best guy.
They probably did it some with Finnegan too, but he kind of had to grow into that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a great question. It's also like the question of like the level of play of Snead compared to Awuzie, right? And also the matchup. The thing about the Bears, I think some weeks there's going to be a clear. I mean, DJ Moore is their best player, their best receiver, but they have a good receiving core. Some
like
weeks,
next week when they play Garrett Wilson, do they just say, "All right, L'Jarius Snead, you're with Garrett Wilson wherever he goes"?
It's a great question. Yeah, maybe. Is that? I mean, look, the way L'Jarius Snead played last year, he was that guy. He was one of those guys that you would do that with.
Well, to me, that's why you make that trade, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, sure.
Not just for that, but to have a guy that has the ability to do that.
The ability to do that. Yeah, yeah.
Those guys don't grow on trees, as Titans fans should be familiar with.
And Garrett Wilson is amazing. So the next week would be a great test of that. This week, maybe it's a little bit like, hey, look, like they've got enough weapons. Let's be where we're comfortable, and left side, right side, and go with that. Even in man, I don't know. That's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I would agree with you in general that at times this year you would think that Snead would travel with people, and that which would be good because that means that he is still playing at that level. Like last night, there was some talk of L'Jarius Snead, and they were all right.
Yeah,
they were all right without him, and that's part of moving on from him. But obviously the Titans
seem to be all right with whatever they do.
They seem to be fine, yeah, in general. But that's obviously the Titans hope that they get that same 2023 L'Jarius Snead on the field, and I would think that at times that would be something they can do.
We talked earlier about Sweat. We spent a lot of time in the offseason. How good a shape is he going to be in when the regular season comes around? How many snaps is he going to be able to play? Obviously, he was impressive in training camp and throughout the preseason. I think most Titans fans very excited to see for the first time what that combo of Simmons Sweat looks like in an actual game setting. What about Sweat just in terms of the interest level of how much he plays and what that combination looks like? And as we pointed out the other day, a position as a whole where there's not a ton of depth there, and they need Sweat to be out there. I'm not saying he's got to be out there for 85% of the snaps, but they need Sweat and Simmons alongside each other a lot, or you're just looking at a huge drop-off without him.
Yeah, and like we were talking about with Kuharski the other day, yeah, that depth situation, does that speak a little bit to how they feel about that? They could have done more, and obviously they had the injury, and they've had some bad luck and things like that.
And I think they like Coburn.
Yeah, and Coburn is he is also massive and athletic. So, the Longhorns, the non-UT guys are it's quite a tandem. But I kind of look at the way it lays out with the roster and think they must be pretty confident that they're going to get, full games from him and full situational ability. And so I think he is one of the, the first two picks are obviously huge things to watch on Sunday, right? But Sweat, because that's the thing. I mean, Sweat and Simmons, that's exciting to think about what that could be. And it cannot be, I mean, if you're the Bears, you got a limited amount of Sweat film, obviously, from like the preseason, but you got to know what that guy did to wreck games at Texas last year and what Jeffrey Simmons is, and be really concerned about that going to this game, right?
So we heard it from TD. I'll throw the question to you as well. There's been, unending talk about Will Levis this offseason and Brian Callahan and the new system and all these things. Well, we're getting our first look at it on Sunday. What are you looking for in this game, either early in the game or just throughout the whole game, that will signal to you, all right, yeah, he's taking a big step this offseason? I mean, we're not going to get our answer on Sunday as to whether or not he's the franchise quarterback. We're not, making that one determination in one game. But what are you looking for on Sunday that will signal to you, all right, there's progress that is clearly on display here?
Yeah, just, the ball out fast, having the answers quickly. But then also, and again, this goes into having some help from your friends, but can he get to second and third progression? Does he have time to do that? And then, does he rip those throws? Can he hook up on some shots? I think they're going to have to do that. I kind of agree with what it was Charles, right? We've had so many guests today. Was it Clark Lee? Was it Charles? I think what Charles said about this is going to
a lot of perspectives on the program today.
We did. That this is probably not going to be a 17-13 kind of game, because I do think the Bears are going to find some big plays, and the Titans need to do the same thing. So I just overall look for him to be in command. But I just like what Callahan said too. It's like, take those shots, but also, do you have a feel for, okay, let me get 4 yards right here. Let me just go ahead. Let me Mahomes, you watch Mahomes play a whole game. He's so good at that. He looks and okay. And it's all right. Pacheco get 6, get 8. And, with them, obviously, and now with Worthy, it's easier because you have the defense so on its heels. But like, that's Callahan has talked about that so many times, right? About Levis and kind of figuring out how to just take what they give you a little bit. I think that's part of it too. It's not exciting, but man, that's how drives get sustained.
Well, over the course of the game, that gets you into 2nd and 4 and 3rd and 2 way more often than just trying to, force one 25 yards down the field. Sure, you may hit some of those, and that's great, but avoiding 3rd and long, always a pretty good formula if you're an offense in this.
And another thing, and I don't think his skill set, I think when he's had talks with Callahan, if there's a comparison quarterback of the 3 big ones that Callahan's worked with, it's Stafford. But we know with Joe Burrow, right, using the middle of the field and that accuracy and all, is such a big part of that offense. How much do we see of that in a real game, with a real game plan here with Levis, and how good is he at that?
The comparison's not Peyton Manning.
Well, maybe there's some Peyton in there. Young Peyton?
Maybe. I don't know. More athletic than Peyton.
He's a lot more athletic than Peyton. That's the thing. He's more, he more represents, Matt Stafford.
Is that a slap
but
in
he's
the
some
face to
combination.
Vols fans?
He's a combination of Peyton, Stafford, Burrow with a little
He's
bit
the
of
hybrid.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's the hybrid.
Right.
Should work out well for Titans.
Should. Hey, we had a national NFL media member come on the program today and say he's been telling people, like,
he did.
You guys are underselling Will Levis. So
He did.
He has put himself out there. So we are not. It's not purely WHMR talking this stuff.
I would love to know, and I'm going to look it up right now. What is the over/under passing total? I've got it. So the over/under passing total, I'll give you Caleb Williams, 242.5. That's the over/under. What would you say the number is for Levis?
I will say 223.5.
It's higher, 235.5.
Okay,
it's higher than I thought it would be. Like I thought it would be like 215.5. So,
well, I mean, does Vegas know that Derrick Henry's not here still? Seems like there's a lag time on some things, but
they just about nailed his over/under in carries last night, though.
They did. The Vegas knows.
They know. They always know.
Whenever they happen to be right about something, Vegas knows. Whenever they're horribly off, we don't talk about it.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up next. We'll get to the Titans Bears. Big one for Tennessee against NC State. We'll get to that as well. Vanderbilt, Alcorn State, and, of course, our highly anticipated individual selections as well. That's coming up next. Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at Twin Peaks and Cool Springs this Sunday from 9:30 to 11:30. The pregame show, they'll break down the Titans' Week 1 road matchup against Chicago, the latest updates before the game. Pregame show presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Looking forward to the first edition of the pregame show coming up on Sunday. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
We're here, folks. We just had the NFL opener. Got another one tonight. Got a full slate Sunday. Here's something from America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel, you're going to want to get on. From now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Sunday, all the games, all the out-of-market games. It's fantastic. It is absolutely worth it. You definitely want to check it out and give it a trial. I'm a subscriber to Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. You can get the little four screen too, 4 games at once. Pretty awesome. All you need is a Google account, current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. Just visit fanduel.com/Joe102. Download America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Present Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after the free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week, Pigskin Pick'em here on the program. Week 1 is in the books in terms of college football. Week 2 of college football coming up, week 1 in the NFL. The standings after 1 week, our defending champion, Joe Rexrode, remains in first place. 3-3, 1-0 with his lock, good for 4 points. I was also 3-3, did not get my lock, which was Virginia Tech over Vanderbilt. Nice call by me. 0-1 with my lock, 3 points. Nick Keyser, 2-4, did get his lock, but 3 points as well.
Hey, I did get a lock. That was
a problem last year.
Yeah, huge problem.
But Rexrode off to the early lead in the competition.
So it's 4-3-3?
4-3-3.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
We begin with Vanderbilt and Alcorn State. Now, it's hard to find a line for this game. A lot of places don't have a line for a FCS game. Arya Gerson, friend of the show, of the Tennessean, did point out that ESPN's little analytical line that they've thrown out there has favored Vanderbilt by 31 points. So we'll go with that. Vanderbilt favored by 31 in the matchup against Alcorn State. Joe Rexrode, who we got in this one?
Yeah, that's 31 is a number I'm looking at this week on multiple fronts. You know, I'm going to this is a hard one. I'll go Vandy. Although, you know, I think that Clark Lee is a benevolent and merciful leader who may, you know, not. But I also, it's like they're going to run a lot. So are you going to beat a team by 35 points doing that? But I also think they're probably going to run for touchdowns. And then if they keep running the offense, like with the backup quarterback Nate Johnson, who, by the way, is a talented guy.
Yep.
I think they might still score. So I'm talking myself through Vandy.
I'm going Vandy too. Diego Pavia is a dog. He is an absolute dog.
That is true.
And I'm going Vanderbilt. I think they win by like 40. Now, people are going to live with that and say, what's Vanderbilt? What are you talking about? I mean, it is Alcorn State. And last time I checked, I don't think Steve McNair is still there playing. So I'm going to go Vanderbilt, minus 31.
Final score, Alcorn State 17, Vandy 16. Nick Keyser.
WHMR.
Yeah.
I'm going Vanderbilt as well. Yeah. This is a landslide here, but that could mean disaster for us, I guess.
It could. I mean, the other part of this, quite frankly, is over the last 2 years, you could probably count on one hand how many times I've picked Vanderbilt, regardless of what the spread is. So I'm going Vandy. This is an opportunity for me to do it. So I'm doing it.
That's true.
Tennessee, NC State, big game coming up for the Vols on Saturday night, a neutral site matchup. Apparently, NC State has sold out there a lot of tickets. And apparently, Joe, I don't know this as of this morning, apparently Tennessee has not yet. And NC State fans are all over Vol Twitter about it. So we'll see how that
Stop
shakes
tweeting about trash talk that isn't trash talk and buy a ticket.
We'll see what happens. Tennessee, the line, as I mentioned earlier in the week, was 4.5 last week. It is now shot up to 9.5. Tennessee favored by 9.5. I'll start us off on this one. This one makes me nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. It makes me nervous. There's a lot of hype for Tennessee heading into this game. I'm going to go with the Vols. I think the Vols end up winning by about 10. I am not one of those who believe that Tennessee is going to waltz in there and win by 35, like some people seem to think. But I will go Vols barely by double digits, and because of that, they cover the 9.5. Nick Keyser, Tennessee, NC State.
Yeah, they will not waltz to victory, I don't think. But I do like the 9.5 because I think Nico will keep rolling. So give me Tennessee over the Wolfpack.
Okay. Joe Rexrode. Vols favored by 9.5.
Vols lock.
Wow. That didn't take long.
And I'm also not saying it's not going to be like 38-10, but it's going to be about 34-20. Will be my pick. They will win convincingly. They will be very impressive. We will be talking a lot about Nico on Monday.
I mean,
we got Titans Monday. Sorry, that's Stilly's little title. We have a Titans reaction Monday, but we will be talking about Nico too.
We will. NC State runs that funky 3-3-5. Gave Milton a lot of problems last year. Missouri kind of runs the same thing. I do think Nico sees the field a little bit better. So
yes, I think he does.
We'll see what happens on that front. The Tennessee Titans on the road in Chicago coming up on Sunday. Chicago favored by 3.5. So, Joe, I thought this line might go up as the week goes along. It actually went down. Chicago favored by 3.5. Nick Keyser, you're up first. Who we got between the Titans and the Bears?
Give me Will Levis and the Titans with some parfum de mayonnaise reeking at Soldier Field this Sunday. I'm looking forward to seeing Will Levis get off to a good start this season. Give me the Titans over Caleb Williams.
Joe Rexrode, your sneaky playoff team in the NFC. Who you got this week? The Titans and the Bears. Bears favored by 3.5.
They are, and yet, yes, I'm taking. I like the half. I got the Bears winning by a field goal, but I'll take that half point. So give me the Titans.
God, we are all such homers. All win Vandy, all win Tennessee, and you guys should probably know by now I'm not going with the Bears. So Titans winning outright plus the 3.5.
We are serious homers. When's the last time that happened where
it does not happen very often?
Across the board, all three teams. We all agree.
Not happen very often.
Boy,
I don't know.
This could be a bad weekend for the home
This could be
teams.
horrendous news for our listeners out there. We'll see. All right, the individual portion of the program. Let me just go ahead and kick us off with this. All right, a game that I don't really know what to expect because I don't know how good Kentucky actually is. But Shane Beamer, in the words of Squints in the Sandlot, the classic movie, is an L7 weenie. Kentucky favored by 8.5. Give me the Wildcats and make it my lock. I'm locking down. Kentucky's going to destroy South Carolina. Kentucky minus 8.5 against South Carolina.
Michelle Perry, are you listening? I hope
she texted in about it. It was on my board before she texted me about it. But, yeah, Kentucky's going to destroy South Carolina.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there. I see Michelle right there. Yes. I love it.
Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
I actually really like the pick, too. I'm not going to copy you, but now I kind of regret not because I think they're going to absolutely house them, too. But I will I'll stick with Texas, Michigan. I mentioned it earlier. Michigan at home -7. Look, I like Texas a lot. They have a new receiving core, obviously. We just saw one of those guys last night playing in the NFL. Quinn Ewers is very good. They've lost a couple running backs. They're still very good there. I think Michigan at home with that defense and the best corner in college football, Will Johnson, their offense looked bad last week, but I think they're going to muck this game up, and I definitely will take – I think they're going to upset them outright, but I'll gladly take the 7 points in Michigan.
So we're going Michigan +7 at home against Texas. Nick Keiser, your first individual selection.
I wish we had to pick different games if someone grabbed it before us, but I'm also going Michigan over Texas. I don't really have that much faith.
Nick Keiser, your second individual selection.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football, Joe Rexrode. Give me the Lions -4.5 over the Rams. I love it. So looking forward to seeing Amon-Ra St. Brown tear it up on Sunday night. So, Joe, I hope you like your Lions as well.
Stafford's revenge.
Yeah, man.
Stafford's revenge. Be ready. You heard it here first.
Could also blow up in his face, but yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see.
Rexrode, your second individual pick.
So this was actually going to be my lock, but then I was like, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'll go with the Vols. But Arkansas at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, this is SEC, Big 12. Oklahoma State's -7.5. I understand the Petrino stuff. I think that Sam Pittman is it's a season that wasn't necessary. And I think we're going to see right away Oklahoma State, one of the most talented running backs in the country. I think he's playing, by the way. I should probably check that, but I believe so. So I think they're going to absolutely put a number on Arkansas. It's going to be a better weekend for the SEC, but not with that one. So give me Oklahoma State.
That Arkansas quarterback, he can run, man. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, remind me. We did the game show here.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
I'll look it up here in a minute. I just know he can run. I watched the highlights over the week. I was like, hey, look at him. He's flying around out there.
That's really going to bother me.
Yep. I'm going Monday Night Football. Really interesting game on Monday night. The Jets traveling across the country, taking on San Francisco. San Francisco is a 4.5-point favorite at home. Give me the Jets. I'll take the Jets +4.5. I'm not saying they're going to win outright, but I'll take the Jets and Aaron Rodgers +4.5 on the road against San Francisco. Joe Rexrode, your final individual selection.
Sorry, I'm looking up now. I'm looking up. Oh, Taylon Green. Duh,
yes,
Taylon Green. We knew that.
You.
Yes. No, I mean that's going to be interesting. Maybe this Petrino offense will be revolutionary. So I'm going back and forth between two games, an NFL game and a college game. As you guys know, I usually am more heavy on college with some of these lines. I'll keep it there. I was going to go Texans Colts, but South Florida, Alabama. Now I did this last week with your Hilltoppers, and I looked stupid because Alabama just kept running pick sixes back and doing whatever they want to do. But Alabama -31 against South Florida. I said it earlier. I think South Florida's offense is going to make some plays and score some points in this game. And I think they will make it a better game. If South Florida can keep this game competitive, South Florida has a game with Miami coming up. They would be a group of 5 team to watch as that playoff team. Brutal schedule, obviously, with those two, but I think they're going to cover the 31.
Keys are your final individual selection.
I hope you guys don't veto me, but I really want to see this uniform debate end on the gridiron. Western Kentucky in a pick'em. I could not find a line for this game, but I did find some pick'ems. So give me the Hilltoppers over Eastern Kentucky, and that is my lock because I want to see them beat the snot out of whatever they are. I don't even know what EKU is, the Colonels or something, right? So look,
some slander about.
I hate it.
Did Big Joe get Wells on here to talk about
on.
this? I want to hear the story.
There's no line.
I couldn't find one.
All right, I'll do some research. But
That's
for
fine.
now, your pick.
For
stands.
now, your pick counts.
If you have to veto it, that's fine.
My final individual selection. I've thought about getting crazy and picking the outright upset in this. I don't actually deep down believe it's going to happen. Give me App State plus 17 against Clemson.
Yeah, no.
The wheels are falling off of Clemson right now. I think they're going to win the game. There's too much talent that they have, or I don't think they're going to win. But I do think App State can make it interesting. I'll go App State plus 17 against Clemson.
I mean, App State makes it interesting all the time with all those ACC teams. It's like, why do you guys keep scheduling them?
I know.
I love that.
I'm not going to pretend to sit here and know a ton about this year's version of the App State football team. But name alone, I'm going plus 17 against Clemson.
I really like your picks, other than the Jets one. But other than that, I like your picks.
Thank you very much.
And we all like each other's homer picks on all the local teams.
This has been Pigskin Pick'em. Final thoughts on Titans Bears. We'll get into Tennessee, NC State coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode got some tickets to give away to see Weezer at Bridgestone Arena. Caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Weezer coming up on Tuesday, September the 17th at Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1025, our number.
Who's our guy in the league? I'm so bad with names. He's going to be in the pit for Weezer.
I didn't hear this.
Oh, yeah. He was like, you got to go to Weezer. It's the guy right across from Kaharski there.
I'm trying to remember where everybody was sitting.
You guys are supposed to know names.
Well, I know names. I'm trying to remember where everybody was sitting there.
Kind of big, fluffy hair.
I don't know.
I've grinded the show to a complete halt. But anyway, somebody in our fantasy league is going to be in the pit for Weezer.
I'm looking back at the names now. Is it Jack or
Daniel?
Daniel?
It's Jack.
He was right next to Daniel.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Jack.
So,
yeah.
Jack.
So there you go. Enjoy it. I'm just Tuesday night's tough, man. You know what I mean? But I want to be there. I love Weezer. Saw Weezer at Ascend a couple years ago. They were fantastic, and they're playing the whole Blue album, which is pretty cool.
Hey, just go in the mosh pit.
I'll go. I'm gonna go mosh.
All right.
I'm not afraid. I like to mosh with some of these textures today.
Sure.
Get back to that dog's butt. Leave us alone.
By the way, tune in to 94.9 The Fan tomorrow, 2:30. College football game of the week, Iowa State versus Iowa. Big boy football, presented by Twin Peaks. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Joe, final thoughts on the Chicago Bears Tennessee Titans matchup in week 1. You've got the Titans covering, the Bears winning. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be close. I'm going Titans. Titans take down the Bears.
Yeah. And how much of that pick is your just deep-seated hatred for the Bears?
It's some.
Can you pick the Bears? Could you possibly, in good conscience, pick the Bears to win a football game?
I mean, they are widely, generally speaking, a bunch of losers. So it's kind of hard for them to do that. But yes, I could. I could pick them to win.
I hope Michelle and Ryan are continuing to listen. Yeah, look, I
hope Caleb Williams throws an interception the first pass he throws. I mean, I'm definitely rooting for that.
That's the thing is, like, I do have this. So actually, I do have this this feeling, like, think about the Browns game for 5 years ago. Like, there are some similarities, different, but there was so much hype for that Browns team.
Yeah,
such a weird Titans team because it was awesome that day, then terrible, and then eventually awesome again. But I definitely, the whole Williams thing, the Chicago thing, the Bears' history of never finding a quarterback and also of overhyping their teams, all that. Like, the Bears are kind of like the Notre Dame of the NFL. I know you could say the Cowboys are too, but the Cowboys have at least had like good teams. The Bears are kind of like the Notre Dame of the NFL. Like, it's just way overpromise and way underdeliver. So
Bears Texas is going to get all over us if they win.
I mean, but you can't argue that. But I think Caleb's good. I think he'll have some rough moments. And I think there's just a couple big plays at the expense of this Titans. But again, it's like picking the Titans right now. Obviously, it'll be a lot easier after we watch them play. There's so many questions I have about this team that if they're all answered in the affirmative, then I think they could be a good team this year, and they can absolutely go win this game. The guys on D who haven't played. Now we have the receiver question, just the offensive line, and then, of course, the quarterback. But there's a lot more than him.
I'm just glad that now Bears fans can stop pretending like Justin Fields was a good quarterback, because he's not.
See, this is where, and this is where I understand all the excitement, of course, and there's more like this guy's generational. He was the number one pick. But when Justin Fields was starting out there,
a lot of hype.
Now, he did not start, if I recall correctly, he did not start from the start, right? Justin Fields, and I don't think he did. He eventually.
Was Trubisky still there, or did they move on from him already? I don't remember who it was. I mean, they've gone through such a revolving door over there. I have no idea.
Trubisky wasn't there, but whoever remembers, Justin Fields didn't get like the first start of the first. I don't believe he did. So it's different, but they've had other quarterbacks they've been excited about too. I mean, Rex Grossman got him to a Super Bowl, so
sure did.
That should tell you something.
Your final thoughts on Tennessee, NC State? A lot of people picking the Vols to roll in this game. Look, I think Tennessee is more talented than NC State is. I think they're certainly deeper than NC State is. They should win this football game. Interested to see defensively what they do in that matchup. Like, can they limit Concepcion and the plays that he makes down the field? And is this a game where you get to the end of it and you just say, man, that pass rush that Tennessee has and how good we think it is, it's just on full display Saturday night.
Yeah, this is a game we had the debate this week with Brian Summers, good friend of the show, about James Pierce being the number 1 pick. And I don't know if that's his destiny. Our guys, Doctorman and Baumgartner, just put that in their mock draft because we always have to have mock drafts. But this is the game where this is one of those games where it's like, oh, now we see what they're talking about. I mean, last game he had 10 snaps,
and 4 of them, I think, were pass plays. Yeah. He barely played,
but it's not smart. And so it's obviously they're going to be focused on him too, right? Of course,
no doubt.
The Vols have a lot more answers past him, and
Tyree West, Josephs. I mean, they're deep,
absolutely, and then Thomas inside, and I mean they're loaded. So I think that's a big part of this game. And then are we going to have some clarity on that Vols secondary too?
Well, and you said it, but on Monday morning, are we getting in here and saying, man, did you see what Nico did in that game? It's just that's the big, it's one thing doing against Chattanooga. He's getting a lot of hype, but if he goes out there and just lights up NC State on Saturday, and then the hype is going to be full go for Nico heading, especially into that Oklahoma game in a couple weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to overreact to as Urban Meyer and others maybe have to what he looked like in that game against Air, basically.
Yeah,
but he looks to be in total command, and he can rip it.
NFL game tonight, Friday night NFL game in Brazil.
Which I'm gonna agree with Big Joe. That sucks.
Yeah, it's my team, and I still am not really looking forward. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't like it.
But I'll catch the end of it after the high school game.
Yeah, we'll see if Jordan Love's taking down AJ Brown, the Eagles tonight.
Who do the Knights have?
McGavick, big one. Big battle. That's a Big Joe battle, right?
Yeah, it is a Big Joe battle.
It is. Well, maybe we can bet something on it.
Apparently, Brennan did not like that matchup very much at dinner the other night. He said that they kind of stink.
Well, thanks for throwing that into the ether. All right, 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Jason Big Joe up next, 1025-1063 the game.